The GBU-57, massive ordnance penetrator carried by B-2 Spirit stealth bombers, is a 13,000-kilogram bunker-busting bomb capable of penetrating deep underground facilities, but using it requires precise location intelligence that is extremely difficult to develop against dispersed underground targets in mountainous terrain. Iran designed this network specifically to survive exactly the kind of precision air campaign America is conducting. Now look at what the defending side has deployed against all of this, because the technology story runs in both directions, and the American and Israeli response represents genuinely impressive engineering, even if the cost equation remains unfavorable. Israel has deployed a 4-layer air defense architecture that represents the most sophisticated integrated air defense system currently operational anywhere in the world. The outermost layer is the Arrow 3 system, which provides exo-atmospheric intercept capability, meaning it can destroy incoming ballistic missiles above the atmosphere before they re-enter. It uses hit-to-kill technology, where the interceptor physically strikes the incoming warhead at hypersonic closing speeds. It has demonstrated capability against targets moving at Mach 9 and above, making it the primary defense against Iran's most advanced ballistic missiles. The second layer is David's Sling, which handles medium-range threats, including cruise missiles, large drones, and tactical ballistic missiles. It uses dual radar tracking with a range exceeding 150 kilometers and can react to a detected threat in 12 seconds. The third layer is the Iron Dome, which handles short-range rockets, artillery shells, and smaller drones. And the fourth and newest layer is the Iron Beam Directed Energy System. This is a 100-kilowatt high-energy laser weapon that can destroy drones and mortar rounds within seconds of acquiring a target. The cost per engagement is approximately $2 in electricity, $2 against a $10,000 drone. This is the first time a directed energy weapon has been operationally deployed in a live conflict at scale, and its performance against the Shahed 136 drones has been significant. The limitation is range and atmospheric conditions. Lasers lose effectiveness over long distances and in dusty or humid atmospheric conditions. But as a close-in defense against drone swarms, it represents a genuine technological counter to the cost asymmetry Iran has engineered. The United States has added its own technological layer through artificial intelligence integration. The Maven Smart System, which integrates with advanced AI models, analyzes intelligence from multiple sources simultaneously to identify and prioritize targets faster than any human analytical process could achieve. In the opening hours of the conflict, this system processed data from over 179 sources to generate more than 1,000 targets for the initial strike package. Work that would have taken human analysts weeks was completed in hours. More than 20,000 military personnel are currently using AI-assisted tools in various aspects of the conflict. The AI does not make targeting decisions autonomously. Human operators retain final decision authority, but the speed at which the AI can process sensor data, identify patterns, and generate targeting recommendations compresses the decision cycle in ways that give American forces a significant advantage in fast-moving tactical situations. America has also deployed a counter-drone system called Locus, which is a low-cost unmanned combat attack system reverse-engineered from captured Iranian Shahed drones. It mimics the flight profile of the Shahed 136, flying at low altitude and slow speed to confuse Iranian radar systems into treating it as one of their own platforms. When Iranian air defense systems hesitate to engage what looks like a friendly drone, Locus closes the distance and destroys the target. The cost per unit is a fraction of a conventional interceptor missile, turning the cost asymmetry weapon against its inventor. Watch 3 signals to understand where this technology war goes next. First, watch the Patriot and THAAD interceptor production rate announcements from Raytheon's quarterly earnings calls. When production rates stop increasing or begin declining, the American defensive stockpile is depleting faster than it can be replenished, and the defensive umbrella begins to thin. Second, watch Iron Beam deployment announcements. Every additional Iron Beam battery deployed reduces the cost per drone intercept from millions of dollars to $2. If Israel deploys Iron Beam at sufficient scale across all defended sites, the economics of the drone swarm attack shift fundamentally against Iran. Third, watch for any announced use of the GBU-57 massive ordnance penetrator. The B-2 bomber carrying that weapon has been positioned in the theater. If it is used, it signals that American intelligence believes it has located specific high-value underground targets with sufficient precision to justify a strike. That signal will tell you more about the actual state of the conflict than any press conference. The motorcycle engine defeated the most expensive air defense system in human history, not because it was more sophisticated, but because it was more numerous and more affordable than the weapons used to stop it. That is the mechanism. That is the lesson. And that lesson does not disappear when this conflict ends. Every military on Earth is studying it right now. The age of the cheap drone swarm against the expensive interceptor missile is not a temporary feature of this specific conflict. It is the defining technology story of every conflict that follows. Pay close attention to what I am about to explain, because what I am about to walk you through is the single most misunderstood technological story of the Iran war, and almost no one in mainstream coverage is explaining the mechanism correctly. The headlines give you casualty figures, missile counts, diplomatic statements. That is real, but that is the surface. The actual story underneath the explosions is a story about cost, about engineering, about how a country with a defense budget of $30 to $40 billion is forcing a country with an $850 billion defense budget to burn through its most expensive weapons at a rate that cannot be sustained. By the end of this, you will understand exactly how Iran built a weapons architecture specifically designed to bankrupt American air defense, why a motorcycle engine is defeating some of the most sophisticated military technology ever built, and what the cost asymmetry at the heart of this conflict means for every future war the United States will ever fight. This is not a story about who is winning. It is a story about a mechanism, and the mechanism is more consequential than any single battle. Start with the number that changes everything. The United States defense budget is approximately $850 billion per year. Iran's defense budget is $30 to $40 billion. That is a ratio of roughly 20 to 1 in America's favor. The United States has more than 5,000 tanks, 11 aircraft carrier strike groups, the most advanced air force ever assembled. Iran has 0 aircraft carriers, an air force built largely on aging American equipment from the 1970s and Soviet-era platforms that are decades old. On paper, this is not a competition. It is a demolition. And yet the demolition is not happening. What is happening instead is a cost war that Iran is winning not by matching American technology, but by making American technology too expensive to use. That inversion is the entire story of this conflict compressed into a single structural sentence, and almost no mainstream outlet is explaining it with the clarity it deserves. The mechanism Iran built to achieve this inversion has a specific name and a specific engineering logic. Iran's primary offensive tool in this conflict is the Shahed 136 drone. This is a one-way attack drone. It flies to its target and detonates on impact, destroying itself in the process. It does not return. It does not need to. And this design choice is the key to understanding everything that follows. Because a drone that does not need to return does not need expensive navigation systems, expensive propulsion systems, or expensive recovery mechanisms. It needs to be cheap enough to build in enormous quantities, accurate enough to reach its target area, and explosive enough to cause meaningful damage when it arrives. The Shahed 136 achieves all 3 of those requirements using components that are available commercially across global markets. Its propulsion system is a small piston engine derived from motorcycle and light aircraft engines, 50 to 70 cubic centimeter displacement, the kind of engine that costs a few $100s and is manufactured in enormous quantities across China, Russia, and dozens of other countries. Its airframe has a wingspan of approximately 2.5 meters. It carries a warhead of 30 to 50 kilograms of explosives. Its range is between 1,000 and 2,500 kilometers, depending on configuration. And its unit cost is somewhere between $2,000 and $20,000, depending on which estimate you use. Call it $10,000 as a middle estimate. That number is the foundation of everything that follows. Now put that $10,000 drone against the system America uses to shoot it down. The Patriot missile system is one of the most sophisticated air defense platforms ever built. A single Patriot interceptor missile costs approximately $4 million. Standard operating procedure when intercepting an incoming threat is to fire 2 interceptors to ensure a kill. That means each Shahed 136 drone that Iran launches forces America to spend $8 million in interceptor missiles to destroy it. The cost ratio is 800 to 1 in Iran's favor on every single interception. Iran spends $10,000. America spends $8 million. Iran does this hundreds of times per day across multiple theaters simultaneously. The mathematics of that exchange rate are not sustainable for the defending side, regardless of how large its defense budget is. The United States can manufacture approximately 270 Patriot interceptors per year under normal production conditions. The current conflict has forced emergency production production increases, but even at elevated rates, the production of $8 million interceptors cannot keep pace with the production of $10,000 drones indefinitely. The stockpile depletes faster than it can be replenished. And when the stockpile runs low, the defensive umbrella that protects American allies and American assets across the entire region begins to develop gaps. Iran does not need to penetrate American defenses to win the cost war. Iran only needs to keep firing long enough that the cost of defending exceeds the political and financial tolerance of the attacker. This is not an accident, it is a doctrine. Iran spent 4 decades after the Iran-Iraq War studying exactly this asymmetry and engineering a military architecture specifically designed to exploit it. The lesson Iran took from that devastating 8-year conflict was not how to build a conventional military capable of matching American firepower. It was how to build a system that makes American firepower too expensive to sustain operationally. The Shahed series drones are the visible expression of that doctrine. But the doctrine runs deeper than any single weapon system. It runs through Iran's entire approach to the technology of this conflict. And understanding that approach requires looking at 4 specific innovations that mainstream coverage consistently underexplains. The first innovation is navigation. Iran has largely shifted its drone and missile guidance systems away from American GPS and toward China's Beidou satellite navigation system. This matters because American GPS signals can be jammed or spoofed by electronic warfare systems that the United States and its allies deploy in contested airspace. Beidou operates on different frequencies with different signal architectures that are significantly more resistant to the jamming techniques American forces use. The practical consequence is that Iranian weapons guided by Beidou maintain higher accuracy in electronically contested environments than weapons guided by GPS signals that American forces are actively working to degrade. Precision without GPS dependency is a significant tactical advantage when your opponent has built its entire electronic warfare doctrine around disrupting GPS. The second innovation is GPS spoofing. Iran is not just using Beidou for its own weapons. It is actively broadcasting false GPS signals to confuse American and Israeli weapons that still rely on GPS guidance. A transmitter broadcasting false GPS coordinates causes an incoming weapon to believe it is somewhere it is not. The weapon follows the false signal and misses its target. This is electronic warfare at scale, and it requires no kinetic weapons to execute. Iran can defeat incoming precision-guided munitions using nothing more than a transmitter and the right software. The cost of that transmitter is orders of magnitude lower than the cost of the precision-guided munitions it defeats. The asymmetry appears again at a different layer of the conflict. The third innovation is the hypersonic missile. Iran has developed and deployed a family of ballistic and hypersonic missiles that represent a qualitatively different threat from the drone swarms. The Fateh series hypersonic missiles travel at speeds between Mach 13 and Mach 15. That is 13 to 15 times the speed of sound, or approximately 14 to 15,000 kilometers per hour. At those speeds, the time between detection and impact is measured in seconds rather than minutes. The hypersonic glide vehicle attached to these missiles does not follow a predictable ballistic trajectory. It maneuvers during flight, changing altitude and direction in ways that make trajectory prediction and interception extremely difficult. The Khorramshahr-4 ballistic missile has a range of 2,000 kilometers and can carry a 700-kilogram warhead. The Fateh-1 hypersonic missile has demonstrated the ability to maneuver at speeds that exceed the intercept envelope of current American and Israeli air defense systems. When Iran warned that it would target the USS Abraham Lincoln Carrier Strike Group with hypersonic missiles, the United States moved the carrier beyond the missile's maximum range. That repositioning is itself a strategic victory for Iran. It pushed America's most powerful naval asset further from the theater without Iran firing a single shot. The fourth innovation is the underground missile city. Iran has constructed an extensive network of underground launch facilities built 500 meters or more beneath mountain ranges across the country. These facilities are not simply storage bunkers. They are fully operational military infrastructure with road networks wide enough for heavy military vehicles, blast-proof doors, curved ceilings designed to deflect shockwave energy from nearby explosions, and automated rail systems that move missiles from storage to launch position in minutes. The dispersal of these facilities across thousands of square kilometers of mountainous terrain makes targeting them from the air extraordinarily difficult. Destroying them requires knowing their precise location and having weapons capable of penetrating 500 meters of rock and reinforced concrete. The United States has such weapons,